There was a time when Sony really loved indies. Weird-ass artsy games like Unfinished Swan, Thomas Was Alone, Flower, and of course, Journey. During the end of the PS3 and the start of the PS4, Sony loved indies. And slowly over the PS4's life, I feel like that love slowly started to die down, as they started to focus more on AAA first-party games. But then, out of nowhere, Sony announces Concrete Genie, a game that immediately reminds me of those weird-ass indie games that Sony used to publish. And the visuals and concept of the game alone instantly sold me on it. It felt so imaginative and unique from anything else. And not to mention, they announced this on a stage during their 2017 Paris Games Week conference. The fact that Sony was actually giving this game stage time showed that they must have seen something really special in it. What's up everyone? My name is Sebastian, and today, I felt like talking about Concrete Genie. Starting off, you play as Ash, a young boy who loves to sketch and paint in his notebook. Ash is a bit of an outsider, constantly getting bullied and not really having any friends. Instead, he considers his drawings to be his friends. I really like Ash. I see him as a character that can be very relatable to many kids in school, who constantly feel left out. The story takes place in the town of Denska, a port town that was once beautiful and full of hope, but was consumed by darkness, leaving it a shadow of its former self. At the start of the story, the bullies take Ash's sketchbook and rip it up, then send him out to the lighthouse all by himself. Ash, feeling sad and alone, is suddenly greeted by Luna, one of his drawings that magically came to life, and gives him a magic brush. Luna sends Ash on a mission to get rid of the darkness and bring beauty back to Denska. Along the way, you'll run into the bullies quite a few times, and you get flashbacks from them learning about whatever hardships they had during their life that made them act the way they do towards Ash. The game dives into subjects like loneliness, acceptance, family troubles, and a lot of these themes come together throughout the story, but especially at the end, by metaphorically telling them through the genies and the darkness that spread throughout Denska. It's a short, really nicely told story that I really enjoyed. This game is super relaxing in terms of gameplay. You go around pretty much just painting designs on walls. In order to progress, you need to paint on walls that have lights on them in order to light them up. But there was so many times where I'd just walk up to a big empty wall that didn't have any lights under it or anything, and I'd just start painting. There's something so satisfying about the painting action that makes you just want to do it, even if you're not making any progress in the story or getting anything after you're done. Getting to create something feels satisfying enough to make you want to do it, which I love, because so many games now are so objective based. It's nice to play a game where I can just do something because I think it's fun, and not because it's required or gets me anything. The paintings you make are all based out of designs in Ash's sketchbook. Before playing the game, I felt like this could feel a little restrictive, having to choose from pre-made designs in the sketchbook. However, it didn't feel that way at all. The game lets you move objects around with your brushstrokes and reshape them, and add elements wherever you want. And the designs are all varied enough that you can create some pretty unique compositions with them. By the end, I definitely felt a sense of ownership over my Denska, and how I chose to paint it. You also paint what's known as a genie. A genie is one of Ash's sketches that comes to life. You'll use the genies to solve various puzzles throughout the world. They'll also ask you for things they'd like you to paint for them. The genies are really charming and lovable. There's also moments where you can directly interact with them, either with objects in the real world, or they'll play with the objects you've painted. Something I found interesting is that the default controls for painting use motion controls. Now, I'll be the first to say that I don't really necessarily love motion controls, and let's be honest, who does? However, I was fairly surprised to see that I actually really enjoyed the motion controls in this game. I quickly adapted to them, to the point where I didn't even really notice that I was moving my controller in order to paint. Now, there is an option to use the right stick to paint, and I tried it for a second just to see how it felt, and it felt really awkward, and I immediately went back to the motion controls. This game was clearly built around the motion controls, and they feel really natural for it. The world of Denska is separated into different areas that are all connected together. You can freely explore the areas, and it's really cool having your canvas expand as you progress through the game. The world isn't huge, but it's big enough to encourage plenty of exploration. The way you explore is through platforming. When I first saw this game, I just kind of expected you to walk around wall to wall and paint different designs on them. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that you could actually platform up to rooftops and zipline between buildings. And I found that platforming and exploration in this game is just as fun as painting. Throughout the world, there are many hidden collectibles to find. I really like the collectibles in this game, specifically the pages. The sketchbook pages that were torn out of Ash's book at the start of the game are all scattered throughout Denska. And what makes me like finding them is that they actually give you more designs to paint with, which is more than enough encouragement for me to find them, because the more you have, the more you can create. As you explore, you have to avoid the bullies. They'll hang around certain spots, and in order to move them, you shout for them from a distance, then sneak around as they come looking for you. If at any point the bullies spot you, they'll chase after you, and if you fail to lose them, then they'll take away your brush and throw it on a roof, then throw you into the dumpster, making you have to go get your brush back. Aside from the main story, the game also features a free paint mode. You choose an area from the story, and you can just paint around for as long as you want, without worrying about the bullies or collectibles. After finishing the game, there's also an area you can go to that's basically one large canvas that goes all around you. These inclusions are pretty nice for those who want to continue painting after they finish the game. The last additional mode the game has is a VR mode. In this mode, you can choose a few environments from the game where you can paint on walls. There's also a 3D environment you can paint in. Personally though, I didn't really like the 3D environment. I felt like the designs lost so much of their unique art style in 3D and just looked way less interesting to me than painting them on a wall. Overall, the VR mode is fine. There's not much to it, but it's there for anyone who wants to check it out. And not touching it at all doesn't take anything away from the rest of the game. Now at this point, I'm going to talk a bit about some spoilers for the ending. So if you want to skip ahead, I'll go ahead and leave a timestamp somewhere on the screen. After a certain point, your genies get consumed by the darkness and attack the bullies, and it's up to Ash to go save them. At this point, the game takes a drastic change in gameplay. You no longer paint. Instead, you use your brush to shoot out elemental magic at dark genies. The combat feels fine enough, I guess. It's nothing too special. But what's really fun is being able to paint skate. It's a great traversal mechanic, especially once coming back to the game after finishing it to find any collectibles you've missed. Overall, this last section of the game is very take it or leave it for me in terms of gameplay. The story here is cool, but I would have liked the combat to be more focused on painting, like the very last moment you have with Luna, instead of just randomly turning the game into an action game out of nowhere for the last hour. Up until this point, the game has been very vague about whether the genies are real or if any of these paintings Ash is doing are actually happening. I kinda liked being able to interpret everything as either super literal or more metaphoric, as if it's happening in Ash's imagination. But this final bit just kinda confirms that all this magic shit is actually happening, as the bullies actually acknowledge the genies and the darkness. The game is absolutely beautiful. The main art style of Ash and the world of Denska is great, and gives me this sort of stop motion vibe from the way that they move and the sort of toy/puppet-like features that the characters have. But that's not the only art style this game has. The paintings themselves are all very stylized in this bright neon that is a stark contrast from the much darker world around them. And it's really cool seeing the neon glow brighten up the city and seeing the difference that light makes between areas that are painted and areas that aren't painted yet. Finally, we get this 2D art style that we get during the flashback cutscenes. I think these obviously look really good too. It kind of makes me think of like Disney concept art, sort of as if this were the concept art for these characters that went on to become what they look like in 3D, which thematically fits the story too. Since these are flashbacks, they're technically what made these characters become who they are now. I'm probably looking too much into that, but fuck it, I like this game. The game was really fun. It had me come back to it after finishing it to collect everything and get the platinum in it. The time I had with it was definitely worth playing. Concrete Genie is a charming and beautiful game in story, gameplay, and artistic style. I recommend it to anyone looking for a chill, relaxing game that you can just kind of zone out to and have fun with, without worrying about difficulty or anything like that. I really hope Sony publishes more games like this again, because I feel like they don't do it nearly as much as they used to. But hey, did you play Concrete Genie? If so, continue the conversation down in the comments. Also, let me know any feedback you have for me to improve future videos, or games that you want to hear me talk about. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I would greatly appreciate a like, sharing it with your friends, and if you aren't already, go ahead and subscribe for more videos. Follow me on all the stuff that's on the screen so that you can keep up with whatever the fuck I'm doing. And with all that said, that's it for me for now, and I'll talk to you all next time.